and it's Tuesday afternoon, 12:30, and welcome. I'm so excited that you're joining us again for this week's edition of Mindset Michele TV. And so today, I'm so super excited to be welcoming to Mindset Michele TV the one, the only, the fabulous, the Adam Franklin. I think of Adam as, hello Adam, I think of Adam as the guru of all things social media and especially all things LinkedIn. As we know, LinkedIn just keeps changing and evolving and growing, and it can be a little bit difficult to keep on top of all of that. But we'll get to that later. First, I want to introduce Adam, the award-winning author of Web Marketing Networks, the co-founder, I love the book, the co-founder of Blue Wire Media, and an all-round great guy. There's many other things, but I want to leave those for Adam to share with us as part of the amazing, incredible history of what has led to Adam being so successful today. So welcome, Adam. Please tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Firstly, thank you for having me on the show, Michele. It's always lovely to chat with you. And I guess the story about me, particularly from a business sense, goes back to 2005 when we started, which in internet years feels like a lifetime ago, but it's in real years been 16 since my business partner and I first started walking around the streets, knocking on doors, asking people if they wanted a website. Now that's how we started. We were both non-technical people, like we couldn't actually build a website ourselves. You know, we couldn't write the code, but we were fascinated by the business and marketing side of it. And so we would walk around the hot Brisbane streets in the middle of summer, January 2005, asking people if they wanted a website, and we would get rejected time after time after time for weeks on end. And it has evolved in the last 16 years quite significantly, Michele. Many twists and turns and iterations and improvements. But basically, it started at that, grew to an agency where we did the digital implementation for people. And then when the book came out in 2014, that's when we discontinued the agency side of things and focused purely on the consulting, coaching, and speaking side of the business. And fortunately, throughout that period of time, Facebook came on the market, LinkedIn came about, Twitter, all these platforms that we now call social media. That has all happened in the last 16 years, and it's been a huge opportunity and an exciting time for us to learn about these platforms, practice it ourselves, and then teach the best bits and the bits that work to our clients. So in a nutshell, that's how we've got here today, Michele.
That's fabulous, Adam. And do you think you've always been an entrepreneur? I mean, it's pretty gutsy to go walking door to door. Was that something that even as a child you were interested in, you know, selling lemonade outside of the house, that sort of thing?
It has always fascinated me, and I always pictured myself doing something entrepreneurial. I wasn't necessarily sure what, but even in the earliest days, I guess I was mowing lawns for people in the neighborhood and collecting some money there. I was in my uni days in nightclub promotions, and so we would have very much a blank canvas to get people into venues for certain nights of the week. And if nobody came in, we wouldn't get paid. If lots of people came in, we'd get paid a reasonable amount for a uni student. And I have always been drawn to it. Absolutely.
Yeah, that spruiking's pretty hard work, Adam.
It definitely can be. It definitely can be very fun and rewarding when things go well, but it can be pretty soul-destroying or confronting when it doesn't. But that's what I was up for. That's what I enjoy. And I think that's probably part of the entrepreneurial part of it all. Because at the same time, like I was walking the streets, knocking on businesses' doors, and I had a university degree. I'd had a job offer to join a pharmaceutical company at a reasonable salary with perks and everything, which for a 24-year-old was appealing, but not as appealing as starting a business. And I guess there was a lot of social pressure or family pressure in some respects to go down the more secure path of having a salary and a job and everything, and using those university degrees. But I was drawn to the business side of it, and I'm really glad I took that path.
It's interesting, those paths that we take, especially in those younger years, isn't it? And I'm really interested, and I'd love for you to talk a little bit, Len, about even from those early days, what do you think it was that success meant to you? You know, success when you were spruiking or walking the pavement?
Absolutely. So the success has always meant to me, at least in my business and since university days, has been a number of things. Firstly, the time, the freedom of time to have the choice over how you spend that time. And if you choose to go to the beach for the afternoon, perfect. If you choose to spend a night, you know, preparing a webinar or a speech or something like that, then absolutely, that's fine too. So the time and that freedom, but also having a meaningful contribution. Like, I feel as though running my business and building my business has had a much bigger contribution to the marketplace and to me personally than going into a job as a drug rep, which was the pharmaceutical role that I was considering at the time. And I'm that type of role would be totally meaningful for a lot of people. But for me, I feel though the contribution of my highest value contribution is through the business. And so being able to do, spend that time how you wish with people that you want to be spending your time with and making a contribution that is meaningful to me, that's how I define success. And that's what I've had as my compass to keep me going on the path that I feel is right for me.
That's so great, Adam. And I really, I'm reminded as I look at your background, John Demartini talks a lot about when you're talking to people to look at what they value in terms of what they have in their place. And so I love how you've got your surfboard next to your books. And that really epitomizes and again reflects what you're saying about that freedom and flexibility of time, so that if you need to work on the business, you work on the business, but if you want to go for a surf, you go for a surf as well.
And that freedom is, I've found, is you can do that when you run a business. It's not so easy when you're in a car or in a job in the city. You can't just necessarily duck out as easily for a surf. So yeah, it works for me.
That's fabulous. And do you think that that's similar to what you'd say you're passionate about? Are you passionate about, for example, like social media now and LinkedIn, or are you passionate about other things?
I'm passionate about many things, but particularly I've always been passionate about the social connection as well as the science of it. So I studied biochemistry. So technically I'm a biochemist. I've always gravitated to scientific things, but in conjunction with that, I've also loved the social connection side. And so, like, if I go back to university days, I loved the nightclub promotions side of it, because there is some science to putting offers together, putting together a theme for a night of, say, at a nightclub, because people, they haven't been yet, so they don't know what it's going to be like. But the science of actually then, whatever that offer is, getting that out to people through email or through posters or through handing out flyers or through messaging your friends, was the scientific side of it. But then the social connection of when people do turn up on the night and you can have a drink with them, or you can let them in and have that social connection. I've always loved that. And so when I fast forward to the business, it makes logical sense to me that I love the scientific side of marketing, the analytics, the search engine optimization, the crafting videos or sales pages or whatever, because what it allows you to do is it allows you to have then the social connection when people do discover you from a video or from a webinar or from an article that you might have written, and they can come into your world, and then you can have a meaningful social connection with these people. So I love, yeah, the science and the social side of it.
And I love how that's the theme that I'm picking up throughout your background and your experience, you know, being there during the day at uni, studying a very scientific topic, which again has like the building blocks around the structure and the logic of the science, and then going out spruiking at night to kind of balance the other side of it. And the same with going door to door when you couldn't actually program your own websites, but knowing that you would then sell it and then program a website, get a programmer in. That sounds fabulous. And some of the viewers may not be quite as entrepreneurial or quite as tech savvy or social media savvy. So I think in terms of great advice that you might be able to give them for being better on social media and remembering that it is that science and people that are both as important as each other, what do you think might be 3 keys to creating a successful mindset that you could share with them?
Okay, so the thing with social media is that it is social, and nearly all of us are capable of having a conversation with somebody in real life. We're capable of going up to somebody and introducing ourselves and asking some questions of that other person. And so we need to just remember that we can do it in real life. We just apply the same rules, the same human nature to our interactions on social media. Same deal when it comes to talking. We can easily talk to somebody on Zoom. We can easily talk to somebody in real life. It's the same process of just sharing that same type of information with people on social media, and that's like the content that we publish. So my advice is you have the skills already, you have the content already, because it's the stuff that you talk to other people about. Just go in and do it, and don't overcomplicate it, because it's just going to stall and you're just not going to make the progress. Whereas you've got everything that you need already. Just get in there and do it. So that's tip number 1.
Yeah.
Another tip as well that I find has been useful for me is sort of acknowledging that there is an element of fear. Like, it's easy for me just to say, get out there and do it. But at the same time, I acknowledge that when we do reach out to a stranger, or we do share our thoughts, or we do put ourselves out there on video or in articles, there is a human response where we are afraid of the rejection.
So where do you feel like you've probably had, because you've done a lot, like myself, you've done a lot in the social media medium. Where do you think you had your greatest fear when you were first starting out and doing? Was it in writing an article, or was it in doing something like this, being live online? What was your greatest fear that you feel like you had to overcome?
Probably for me, it was the technology failing and me feeling as though I didn't know what I was talking about is one big one, because that's always outside your control to a certain degree. The Wi-Fi can break, the camera can break. So that's probably the main one. Again, and as along with just the general fear of being an imposter, of other people disagreeing with you, of other people criticizing you. They're all natural things that show up as well, which I think all people experience, no matter what level that they're at.
I found, again, back to DeMartini, he has this wonderful quote about when you know you're starting to make it and make an impact, when you start having haters come out and people that are contrarian. And it's been interesting for me when I've had that experience. And I think I reached out to you one time where I had that happen on LinkedIn, where I made a comment or put out a post, and there was a person in particular that was quite nasty. And I was quite surprised. And your advice about, not feeding the negativity if people are being negative, but reframing it again as well about, I'm having an impact and more people are seeing it. And so that's why there's people with different opinions now, and they may be a bit more negative out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you're making a stand with your point of view or your content, there's going to be people that disagree. And that's important because one, you've actually made a stand, which is necessary. And two, if there's healthy debate, that means that your work is actually being seen by people and having an impact.
And
I guess
also,
it flips.
Sorry, I was just going to say, people like Einstein, everybody when he was up to version 97 or 98 must have still been saying, you're an idiot, you're insane, you're whatever. And many of the other people that we celebrate now may have actually been people that were quite challenged at the time. They didn't have social media, but they may have been challenged in their own way at the time with haters and detractors, etc.
I'm sure of it. And I think when you're right, when you can reframe that as, okay, my work is having an impact. There's people that disagree. I'm comfortable with that. That's a necessary part of this journey, because if you don't have people maybe disagreeing with you or your work not reaching enough people, then I don't think that your work is having the impact that it could. But comparing that to actually trolls or people who don't, I guess there's a difference between someone that disagrees with you professionally and just troublemaking trolls.
Yeah.
And I think don't feed the trolls. Don't ever worry about what they say. Easier said than done not to worry about it. But I choose to reframe that as they've got their own challenges, their own problems. They might be hurting for whatever reason. And just because they're having a bad day, they're just taking it out on a stranger on the internet. That just happens to be me today. And so I don't take that personally. And that's a different story to someone who disagrees professionally, because that can be a healthy debate. Both are going to happen. Both are important stages because your work is having an impact, but you treat them quite differently.
Well, and I think that that's a really important point that we've kind of touched on then, that you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. So I think especially when people start off in mediums like this, there is a bit of I hope everybody likes me and I hope everybody enjoys this, etc. And getting to that level where you actually start to recognize, well, I'm not going to fit everybody, and that's okay because they don't all fit me. But just like you were saying in life, when you go up and say hello to people and have those in-person conversations, you're not going to gel with everybody, and online is another medium of that same scenario.
Yeah, exactly. And we want to actually, if we're true to ourselves, then we're going to attract the right types of people, I feel, and repel the others. And that doesn't have to mean be offensive and out there and brash and all of those types of things to repel people. But some people are going to gravitate to us and others are going to be less interested. And that's perfectly fine as well. I feel that if people do try to please everybody and don't take a stand and don't stay true to themselves, then they run the risk of having no one gravitate closely to them. And that's a huge missed opportunity. So it can be confronting, but I feel that's the best approach there, which kind of ties me into the point of not comparing yourself to other people. Just be you, share your insights, be true to yourself. People will like you. People in real life like you already, and therefore online is again just an extension of you. So if you can be natural, then you will find that other people, it may be somewhere different in the world than your hometown, but other people can discover you and can get to know, like, and trust you through what you do with social media.
I think that's a really important element as well, because one of the things I work with a lot of clients is as well about the comparing to others. They might think that they should be here or should be doing this or should be at that stage, and it's a lot of shoulding on themselves. And instead of just accepting that they're doing perfect and doing great for where they're at, and when they grow, they'll grow to a different stage, but everybody's in their own journey and in their own growth process.
Yes, it's true. It's very true. It's easy to fall out of that mindset and compare yourself to others. But I think it's always worth reminding ourselves that we're exactly where we need to be right now, and our journey is different to everybody else, and have faith that you are on the right track and exactly where you need to be.
So what do you think, out of these many years, and I can see, and one of the interesting things from last week when the fabulous Sharon Connolly was on the show, and then this week, is that both of you are actually incredible givers. So Sharon is giving away this incredible amount of information and templates, etc., for change management and change management. And I know you do something similar. You have like 33 templates at least for social media, you know, whether it's planning the calendar or doing social media, this or that. What do you think kind of inspired you to share so much? What other people could think, oh, I can charge for that, or I should only give it away to my private clients? What inspired you to give away so much of your IP?
There were a few influences there. The primary one for me was seeing the author David Neiman Scott back in the early days of starting our business. And he was a big advocate of sharing your information, because on the internet, it easily scaled and people could easily access it. And so if you were generous with valuable stuff, not just junk, but actually valuable stuff, then what that would do is it would open up the floodgates, because more and more people could discover who you were. They could benefit from your free material. And if your free material was good, then they would be much more inclined to become paying customers. And so around those early years, over a decade ago now, I remember before that, most people would put on all their material, this is copyright, you can't share, don't reproduce any of this or share it with anybody. And then when the internet sort of got some maturity, a lot of people flipped that on its head and said, look, we want you to share this. This is Creative Commons. Please use it. Please build upon it. Please use it commercially if you want to, but this is my gift. And so that really resonated with me. The more generous we could be with useful material, the more people would get a chance to know, like, and trust us. And it's worked really well. I mean, it's not like we give everything away. It's some tools and templates and lots of them. But the idea is that that's a starting point of the journey. So they go from step A to step B, and they have that progress. And then when they're ready to take step B to C or C to D, then we're there, and we've got a pathway for them to go on with us, and we'll hold their hand on that journey. But we've drawn them in, we've offered them that first step for free, and I really love that approach.
I hear you. I mean, I remember when I wrote my book, and one of the things I was really aware of was that nothing is new. So you and I know that the information and the context and the content, a lot of the times it's been around since Socrates and you know, for a very, very long time. But the way that we package it and the insights that we bring to that content, that's our IP. And the giving away of some of the easier stuff and the templates, I love giving away the templates as well, because that stuff just makes people's life easier, and it does help them to get to know, like, and trust you. And then from there, yes, they can come and do the more in-depth and the higher value work with you.
Yes, absolutely. And I think a mindset thing that's worked well for me is actually giving myself credit for what I've actually picked up in terms of knowledge over the 15 or 16 years since I started. Oftentimes it feels like, oh, surely everybody knows this, but they don't. And that's the reason why many of us, in whatever business or role that we have, is why we have work, because there's stuff that we know that other people don't. And if we're able to help them, and if we're able to help them in a way that they can understand and feel empowered versus feeling overwhelmed and helpless, then that's incredibly valuable to them. And I personally overestimate how wonderful other people are and underestimate how much impact I might be able to have. And I think when we give ourselves credit for what we have actually picked up and how valuable that can be to other people, I think that's a nice mindset shift that's certainly been useful for me, Michele.
We have a few minutes left, and I'll just check here with the comments and the questions. And this seems to be a favourite question, especially from Wayne. So thank you, Wayne, again. What do you think you would say, or what advice would you give to your younger self?
The advice that I would give to my younger self is that it's perfectly fine to march to the beat of your own drum, and have confidence that you're on the right path, and it's fine. It's good to march to the beat of your own drum, and yeah, don't feel like you need to succumb to the other pressures or norms of the time. Because I remember when I was starting out, it was quite unusual to be going out and starting a business, particularly when you had a perfectly good university degree with a perfectly good job offer in a field that you knew that was normal. And to be starting, just to walk away from that and start a business in, at the time, web design, which I knew nothing about and couldn't actually do, it wasn't the normal thing to do, but I believed in it. And so my advice would be, yeah, stick to your guns, march to the beat of your own drum, and it's all taking you on an important journey.
That's wonderful, wonderful way of ending the show here today. And I love that, you know, marching to the beat of your own drum. And how can people connect with you and hear more or talk to you more about their own maybe social media or LinkedIn needs, Adam?
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned earlier that I've got a whole bunch of different marketing templates. In fact, there's 33 that come with my book, Web Marketing That Works, but you can actually download those for free from my website, which is bluewiremedia.com.au. You should be able to see under my name here, that's how to spell it, Blue Wire Media, and then just .com.au. On the homepage there, you'll see a button to download my web strategy planning template. If you do that, then you'll also get access to all of my other templates as well. So that's one way to access that material. The other way to connect with me is just to find me on LinkedIn, Adam Franklin, and reach out, say hello, I'd love to connect. And once we are connected, I share a lot of new templates, marketing videos and resources. I host little workshops every month or so. So if that type of stuff appeals, look me up on LinkedIn. It would be great to connect.
Fabulous. And thank you again. I can vouch for how generous Adam is with his time and with the materials that he gives and helps with people with the LinkedIn and social media activities. It's been a real pleasure having you here today. So thank you, Adam.
Thanks very much, Michelle. This was heaps of fun. Really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. So we're at that time again. So thank you for being here on the show, Adam. And next week we have the amazing Julian Mather, who's going to be talking about all things video. So Julian's an incredible expert in that space, another surgeon. I'm going to line you up in my own hospital, Adam. Have my own hospital full of all these different experts. But until then, from my heart to your heart, I wish you all again that you will have a fabulous week, a safe and fabulous time over the next week. And until then, be great, be fabulous, and be you.